Okay, good evening. I am Lynn Soroy. I am co-chair that's going to be facilitating the meeting tonight. We'll call to order at 5:15. I think what I'd like to do is a quick refresher. If we could just go around real quick and say our names in case we have some new viewers online or whatnot. Kathy, would you like to start?
Sure. Catherine Hunter, delighted to be on this committee. I live right on Forsyth Road in Topsham.
Pam Leduc, Parks and Recreation Director.
Leslie Byrne.
Allison Carey Blake.
Kimberly Pride.
Heather Rogers.
Mark Lee with Harriman.
Tom Emery with Harriman. Mark Waltz, town manager.
Great, thank you. Do we have anyone online joining the meeting?
None that we know of.
None that
So
we know of,
there could be
yeah.
some watching on YouTube, but it's not on Zoom.
Gotcha, okay. So number 2, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, great. Okay, so invitation to guests to present, introduce. And we have no guest present, so we will go straight to number 3, review updates from Harriman. Mark, would you like to kick that
Very
off?
good, yeah, absolutely. Primarily, what I've come prepared to talk about, I did a little old school here, it's a handout. And this is a draft agenda of what I have identified as a public workshop, but sometimes we're using the word charrette, and we're talking about this too. It's really about engaging the community in this next step that we've had a great deal of outreach regarding a needs assessment for the feasibility of the community center. Now it's really digging into helping them identify what should be in the design of the building itself. And so that's really what the intent of this workshop is. And so I think if I add it all up, it's about a 90-minute agenda that I've shown here. And we'll go through it and get any comments or thoughts that all of you have on it. But we really need to determine the date and time that we really think this would align with, kind of trying to capture the community's interest in really being actively a participant in this next component of it. And so so that's really a big part of what we want to do. And then we'll talk about some of the next steps here regarding some of the information on the tours, and we can be of assistance in setting some of those up too. So without further, Mark, there's no one online, but I will share it for the recording. Is that
That would be
reasonable?
easier.
Okay,
Sure.
that sounds good. I can do that. That's all working, technology is working well. Super, so the first component of it is to welcome everyone to the workshop, and then to just give an overall overview of the purpose of the workshop itself, the agenda, the goals, a brief introduction from as many as we have there from the Community Center Committee. It would be wonderful to have them introduce themselves, and then to give a little bit of an overall perspective of the project itself and the design goals for the building or project. So that's just again a very brief kind of setting the table, if you will. The second piece has a component where we really engage them into it, which is just the community needs and aspirations. And so a lot of that we found out from the survey. So we just want to summarize what we heard from everyone's survey, and then break the attendance into smaller groups and have them provide some immediate feedback from some of that on what they think the most important features are, what activities and services should be in it. And some of that is the same information that we have, but what it will also do is help them start to focus again on the project itself, and they're all kind of, coming that day with everything else going on in their lives, but it's helpful to have them kind of focus in on it again and just talk, and it almost acts as a little bit of an icebreaker for the smaller groups as well, to kind of help build a little bit of a group sort of consensus or teaming spirit. So and so I think that's kind of the important thing. Then we'll have everyone share their points with a larger group, and so helps just again think about a little bit of what's really most important to have in the community center itself. So that's it's going to be about a 30-minute. We'll have doesn't need a lot of facilitation. It's going to be, most of it is pretty self-directed. We will have prompts for them to help kind of them go through that exercise, but it's really somebody on our end will record onto chart paper, and we'll put that chart paper up on walls or somewhere where people can see it. The next piece we really want to have, I put it in italics, but I wanted to understand maybe a little bit more about how much thinking about the site in the context of it we really are going to get into, because I don't know. I think you folks have had maybe conversations with one of the sites.
So I guess I think we all know the Legion is out. They didn't want to play ball. Pam and I went and met with the fair trustees about a month ago now. And they said they were gonna take it under advisement and get back to us. They have, my understanding, new officers being elected about a week from now. So realistically, it's probably not gonna be the current group to make any final decision. It's probably gonna be whatever group's coming in. So after they have that election, we'll follow up with them again. But I think for purposes of this, I think we keep for now both of the sites on the table.
Okay, absolutely, good.
And then we can, look at pluses and minuses and
So that's,
each site.
I think, because as we've talked about before, having some some idea of what the site is, I think would be really helpful for people to really understand what the project is a little bit more tangibly than sort of this notion of a building that maybe or may not be. So so I think that's a great part of it, and we'll build. So that being the case, what we can do is just provide a little bit of an overview of the different features of the two sites that are being considered. That nothing's cast in stone. In fact, we're not even sure, what site it might be, but that at least gives some folks something to react to in that way. So positively or negatively, and we want to hear all of that from them. So some of the things that we can do is ask the group things such as what do they see as challenges to or opportunities to with each of the sites as well. So I'll pause for a second. Does that feel good? I mean, we're not going to do a deep dive into it, but we'll highlight it. We can show them how the program components might or they can be accommodated on the things that almost those figure or the diagrams that we had shared with Ruth the last time too. So
I guess I just have one question, is does this line of questioning align with what the select board has asked us to do? I want to present to the community what it is that we've been asked to do in this next phase and not more. So I just wanna bring that up.
I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it does, because what they've been asked to come up with a design and approximate cost, and that certainly involves figuring out a site and the scale of the building, so.
And does it involve presenting it to the community?
Yeah, I mean, this is all public, so, I had some concern a month ago, because I wanted to make sure, like, the Fair Association had us come to them before we talked about it out, but now we've come to them, and certainly, when Mark's got the challenges, one of the challenges for the fair one is we need access to it. But I think it's good to socialize both sites, for all we know, maybe the community will say, no, we really like the idea of having it adjacent to the Forsyth Field, and maybe people like that one better, but.
And I think when we presented to the Board of Selectmen, the last review, and Mark was there, and Mark had actually made a motion, or had provided them with a motion that they endorsed, which was to take the next step and begin to do this. So I think they gave us permission this time. And I know, I hear your
Yes.
concern, but I think we got a clear definition from them that we could move forward.
Okay, and as long as we're presenting to the community that we're gathering information, we're not it's just part of our plan.
Yes,
I mean, we've had some, I'd say the only negative feedback we've had is concern about cost.
Yeah.
But you don't know the cost until you figure out what your design's gonna be, and then once that's in place, then we gotta figure out, how to fundraise parts of it, things, but.
Great.
So I think this is all a necessary step.
yeah, I think correct, the contract, next phase of the contract that they approved, move forward with Harriman included this concept design, which included a component of it, which was thinking about where it would go, and so that's like.
Yeah, and it's not that much as the message that we send to the community in our question.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
most,
yeah.
I don't wanna be making any promises, because we haven't been given that next step.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and so part of that setting the table will be really making it very clear. This is simply still part of an understanding of if there were to be a
Yes.
community center.
Exactly.
This is, we need to understand the sort of particulars of it in order to really ground it in reality. Does that sound?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of look at it as the process we went through with the focus groups.
Right,
That's what I like. in
just
it, too.
being really clear.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and just making sure that they understand, absolutely.
With that, I have a follow-up question. Is this something that is conducted by Harriman? And then we're just there as participants, or is this something that that this committee is doing?
To the extent that you wanna involve in facilitation, we can sort of engage you to help in, depending on how many people we have, we'll break them up into small groups, and so folks on the committee can be part of the facilitation of just being there, answering questions about how we're conducting this, and just help to keep them on task and moving forward. So otherwise, all you have to do is show up and we'll have all the props and everything ready to go, so. Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
So the next piece is start to really look more specifically at we call the program, and so it's entitled Visioning and Design Inspiration. So what we'll do is show examples of other community centers, other community center spaces, and both inside spaces, and we can also a little bit about how they utilize adjacent area land for trails and other activities. But we'll give just examples to again start thinking about what's been done before, and what we like to do is just do an exercise on everyone kind of gets to go up, and oftentimes we'll use little colored dots, and they can sort of vote on the different characteristics or things that they think are really important. Sometimes we'll even put little stickies they can sort of why they think it's really important, but that way certain aspects or features that rise to the top of everyone that's participating become really clear, and so that is something we can take away, and we can even talk about just different architectural character defining aspects of the building too. But it really starts to allow them to think about the priorities of components in the building itself, and so that's up 20 minutes. That's not a long one, and we're not breaking up into smaller groups. They all just get a certain number of stickers, and they get to go up and sort of identify the things that they like. The next one really gets into the meat of the whole brainstorming session, which is called design and concept mapping, but working in small groups to brainstorm potential layouts. And so what we'll do is we'll actually have the different components, and we'll have them cut out in these squares or rectangles, and we'll give them a sheet of foam core, and they're going to work in groups, and they're going to put the different squares. They're going to sort of arrange them, and they're going to then build connections. Sometimes we actually use yarn or string to connect parts. So they should have like, okay, well, this wants to be next to this, but it also needs to be next to this. And so they can actually start physically arranging them and connecting them. Some things don't want to be next to certain things for privacy or other reasons. And so it's really fun. They get sort of hands-on to be able to actually put them onto the foam board, and then we'll fix them in place when they're all done moving them around, and then they can get up and present their ideas. And so, and we'll have some other paper and things like that. So if they see something that they like that's not already pre-cut and ready for them, they can put that on there too. So it's actually really fun. It's a way to sort of see some different ideas and ways of organizing spaces, and that it's really fun sometimes to see commonalities amongst all the different folks, and then also to see the differences in how they think too. So that'd be just kind of a fun way of engaging them in that. So that's a 30-minute exercise, and then they'll present back, every group will present back what they had seen. And then the last piece is just kind of summing it all up, and here's what we heard from the forum, and then how we're gonna take that information and move the project forward to the next phase, which is that we'll start to actually evolve this into the semblance of what a building might be. And so thank you for closing. So that's kind of the idea. Like I said, we had about 90 minutes before we put the site on there. The site will maybe be about a 15-minute just to give them a little grounding in what we're considering for the two sites. So thoughts on that? Any changes or additions, deletions?
Can you remind us again, I think you mentioned it at the last meeting, what do you look for in the size of the group?
Oh, well, the individual tables, we want to break them down into groups of probably about 6 to 8, depending on how many people we have there. But if, we can deal with 50 to 100, or if we get more than that, that'd be outstanding. I doubt we will, but anywhere from we typically usually see 30 to 50, but if we had more, that would be even better.
Okay.
So.
Anybody else have a question? Art?
Yeah.
If you were to take number 4 and put it before number 2, just as inspiration, do you think you'd get more out of it? And it comes to my head as far as some people may walk into the room, not know what they want, not have any idea or thought. Whereas if you've got some examples, you share them, then they're gonna go, oh, well, I really like that, or no, I didn't like that. So that was and that's just a question. I'm not saying it's the answer. I'm just wondering, do we not wanna put a ideal in their head? Do we wanna?
It can work the other way.
I know.
Where you're actually gonna prejudice some of their thoughts by showing them physical
things ahead
examples.
of, that's what
And so,
I'm kind of mixed on
Yeah.
it, but that was why I just asked.
Yeah, exactly. Normally, I would, but I think what's also helpful by putting that first point of the community needs assessment survey, I think it's really very helpful to have that kind of as
The
here's
basis.
kind of work that's been done, and
Okay.
here's where the communities as values work a lot more than probably will be present in the room too. So it could go either way, but that was the way I was envisioning when I put the agenda together.
Okay.
So
Is this actually what you keep calling the charrette?
yes, this
Thank
is the charrette. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly. In that aspect of actually taking the squares and kind of organizing them, and that's the kind of the charrette, if you will.
Okay.
And then you'll all be experts on charrettes.
So is the next step for us to select when we want to do this?
Yeah, we don't have to nail down right now, but I think we want to have some sense of when we want to do this sooner rather than later.
I was gonna say, start looking at a timeline, for
Absolutely,
sure.
absolutely. And thinking about, what time of, what month, what seems right, where, is there a timing that that is sort of freer from other events? Does it coincide with another event in the community? And where would we do it for people to feel comfortable, that's accessible? And then we want to make sure that we get out the word in enough time and multiple times in order to get people to show up.
So I'm just wanna throw out there right now, just because I have it. We have the focus groups that took place in January of 2024. And I have the most attended date, if I can get to it. But I wanna say the highest attended one was the Saturday.
Should make sense.
So No, it was Friday, January 12th, which was the first one. I think that's why it was the most attended, because it was the first one. And people were really excited to talk about it, but I mean, altogether in January, we had 66 invitations that went out to people that replied to one of the ads, so I don't know if January is too soon, but mid-January seemed like a good time that people wanted to come in and talk about the community center.
I think my other thing too, just going back to if you're thinking potentially, 30 people or so, what would you guys recommend for a meeting place to do this at?
If it was 30, you could probably use here. Anything more than that, you probably either want to try to get the library or go to school.
Okay.
Gosh, if we only had a community center.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that leads me to part two, is depending on where we have it, is availability of rooms. Cause we know that.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
No,
We
okay.
can work with the school district if we wanted to do it there. I mean, I think the cafeteria at the school works with tables and chairs and could easily accommodate everybody, that portion. You could start, if we did it on a Saturday, we could ask for the forum to start with, to kind of do all of the presentations, and then do the breakout groups,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
I
in the
like that idea.
cafeteria.
Yeah.
And then go back to the forum or something like that, and then I'm thinking on this one, you're gonna want food, because
Yes.
you're gonna wanna motivate people to be there and provide. That's where they got for the energy committee, right? They had 30 the other night and they had food.
I also don't think it was the food, but. I'm not doubting the food, I'm just
Okay,
saying.
I've never known you to down food.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I
Yeah.
was involved in a weekend-long charrette, and there was one person who never participated with anything, just hung out in the back and just ate.
Ate.
for 2 days.
Yeah. You know, I'm kind of thinking in those terms,
Yeah.
The library does have the meeting room.
Yeah.
And they have a small kitchen. But they don't have, and one thing I learned, and I don't know, goes way back to college days, is round tables facilitate more participation than oblong. And I know the library has oblong, they don't have round. The cafeteria at the high school is round, and the cafeteria at the middle school is round.
Yeah.
So you have those abilities there. So I
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
that would be my thought, is the forum to
Okay.
start, and you have the AV that we, can easily put up and use, and then we can walk right down the hall and
Right.
do
Right.
everything.
Mark, did that other meeting, weren't they giving away like a gift card or something too?
Yeah,
Yeah, a little extra
but honestly,
incentive.
people were there because they wanted to talk about climate change, they weren't there to get a $5 gift card or whatever.
We could give a free, $50 gift certificate to a recreation program, because it wouldn't cost anything.
That's great.
I'm just thinking ways to get people.
I mean, I honestly think the people that were coming to our meetings last January weren't there to
For
get
money.
any food
Yeah,
or
they were
anything.
there,
wanted
right,
to
yeah.
get it.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't hurt to serve food, but I don't think
No.
we need giveaways.
okay.
I think we could probably revive our food committee.
That's the easy part.
And just a quick side note, you remember the puppet lady that was at one of the meetings?
Yes.
She actually used the concession area, the rec area, 3 times this fall to do puppet charrettes.
Did she
with
really?
kids, open to the public, yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what would the
So we-
next steps be?
We wanna shoot for some dates in January?
Yeah, I think so if we're gonna,
Just means getting the word out.
we're gonna,
Yeah,
we're gonna do it in
yeah.
January, we wanna start
Or
the
towards the end
planning
of
to get the information out pretty soon. It'll get kind of lost, I think, in the holidays, but if some people catch it and then we push it again after we get into the new year.
Maybe we go towards later
So
January.
the
we can-
18th is a 3-day weekend, we don't want that.
Yeah.
The 25th. Do you have your budget schedule put together yet when you're doing are you doing weeknights? You're not doing a Saturday thing,
Who
are
would
you?
you say?
Okay.
January 25th.
If we shoot for the 25th, then we could remind them again at the beginning of the month. How does that look for everybody, Kathy?
Is
I'm
that a
gonna-
Saturday?
It's a Saturday.
I think that you would be the first to
Yeah, the
say
good
yes or
news
no
is
to a
that my work
Saturday.
calendar is
Where
very
is your
free
wife?
that day,
He's an
so-
attender.
That's right. No, that's wide open, so that would,
Okay.
that work on our end.
Heather, Kim?
Let's,
As of right now, I don't have to schedule for January yet,
That,
so.
yeah, I get that, totally.
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Alright, so 25th, we wanna shoot for that,
well,
okay?
let's
Let's
put
do
an
our research.
asterisk next to it because we'll have to get in and take a look at the schedule at the school and make sure there are no basketball games in the high school gym that day. Upstairs, I have the schedule, I just don't have it here. Hold on a second. What time of day are you thinking?
I'm trying to think what is it easier to do it, I mean, again, we're looking at a 2-hour window or less, but we should kind of block out the 2-hour window. If you do it earlier in the day, sometimes that's easier for people if it doesn't destroy their entire day and they have the full rest of the day, so either it could be 9 to 11, 10 to 12, that way people still can get up and other activities in the morning if they need to. How do people feel about that?
I like that.
So,
I like 10 to 12, I'm just concerned about families with,
Kids, they're gonna be in rec programs
They're
until at
gonna-
least
until-
1 o'clock.
in one, okay, I mean, that's an argument to push in the afternoon, but that's, so it'll be a flip of a coin here, right?
Or we can wait until the middle of February and then basketball is over with and Saturdays, I mean, February or March, but I don't wanna put it off too far, but I'm just kinda,
How would that sit with our overall 1-year timeline, Mark? If we didn't do these until like February? Is that gonna make much of a difference?
I don't think that's gonna make much of a difference, I think that this, this aspect of going out and engaging the community is one of the more important parts of it. It won't take long for us to develop the conceptual ideas from this. That's, probably 3 or 4 weeks after we get that information. So our window started, trying to think here, what month did we start their 1-year clock rolling here? Oh, yeah, so that's not gonna, we'll be.
well, I
there
would
are no
also like
home
to-
games or away games on the 25th, I can see that.
We also are gonna have to consider though that we have, if we pick a date, we also have to pick a snow date,
That's a good point.
Right.
so.
What if we just go for the afternoon then, just do January 25th at 1? I mean, sure, we could think that people are gonna send one of the parents if that's the situation, or. But let's just keep it 1 o'clock and then
I like that.
Okay.
Is that good with everyone?
it's after lunch.
Yeah, and then we can, instead of feeding a meal, we'll just do like refreshments.
But
Tomorrow, I'll shoot an email to check on the availability of both the forum
Okay.
and the cafeteria on the 25th,
Okay.
okay?
Can you ask if they would have a suggested snow date if we can't, if
Sure.
something happens on the 25th?
We could come up with one that works for us too.
Yeah.
Do we wanna just put it to the next Saturday, February 1st?
I think there are home games, I just closed the schedule, I'm sorry.
No, I've got a, Pam, I was looking as well.
Yeah, that's the first,
Yeah, they have a 1 o'clock game.
An 8th.
the 8th of February, they'll be, they're done on the 1st. Oh, wait,
The
no, they're
6th.
done on the 6th.
what if you use the Sunday as because usually storms don't last 2 days, and then the food doesn't spoil that was ready for
Ordered.
Saturday.
Mark and food, he's just amazing.
And sometimes we get
I'm not gonna
back
let
to
you
the
off.
store.
How do you feel about that, Mark?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with that.
So the 26th would be the snow day?
Yep.
Same time?
Same time, I think, that keeps it simple
Yeah.
and, yeah.
If we do Sunday, there is open gym in the gym, but that's not gonna invade on us. We might actually get more participation from
Yeah.
parents.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So then, the only other thing I would do is suggest that a homework assignment for the committees to take. You have all the information about what we're doing, to think, what we would do to advertise for, interest in this, and so think about, where to get that out, think about where we did for the survey and the focus groups too, so. Outreach channels.
Could we just do the same thing?
Yeah, we have the huge database from both of the two surveys.
Yeah.
We have the folks that participated and didn't participate but wanted to in the focus groups. And we have our database, which has, we of course would want it to for Topsham residents. We have to base it on that. But we could reach out to them all via email.
So we would want to, and this isn't a sign up, this is just a show up.
Yeah, correct.
So if
Absolutely,
there's
yeah.
no sign up, then I think we could just draft something and we'd wanna put it in the crier.
Yeah.
Correct.
I'm thinking back to when the charrette happened down at where the
The fire
coffee shop is
station.
at the fire station. And there were times where it was just open as well and manned for people just to come by and put the stickies up and not do the full experience, but I don't know if that's something we wanna think about.
Well, out in the hallway here, they did that with Recode, right, Mark?
Still up there.
It's
Yeah, I know, well, and
Yeah.
how long is it gonna
Will
be
be
out
down,
there
yeah.
for?
It won't be done by then.
It won't, okay.
I mean, we could put, I don't know where else people have, are typically engaging with the recreational activities, things like that, but we could put a board for comments as well as some of the priority exercises. Certainly
Might
do
be
that.
nice just to
Yeah.
open it up to those that can't make that date.
Absolutely.
Maybe
At
not
the
have it.
library?
Or, I mean, we could find space for a board or two. Maybe on the text court wall there.
That's what I was thinking, or even up in our hallway across from planning, that open space all down that wall.
Oh, not a lot of people go upstairs,
I know,
but
but-
we got walls and text court on this.
And we'd have maybe the different designs up, the locations up. Just comments
Write
for
some of the
people, or
information.
do we wanna put that online? I
can
don't
we
know, I don't know
engage
how.
Tom from the Recode committee, or, no, he's not Recode, he's the comprehensive implementation committee, right?
How many of these will we hold?
The intent is that this is
One.
the
One?
one, yep.
One and only, okay.
I
That's
think
why-
our
Well, I'm
biggest thing
thinking-
for climate change is the sign out front.
Oh,
Say
we
that
have the
again?
digital
We
sign
need to
now.
have that.
So we
Yeah,
put this
we
on the
have it
sign.
before,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just thinking, building off Leslie's idea, is that maybe instead of saying that we're just gonna put a sign up and let people come whenever they want. Remember how after we did the surveys, we Kathy and Lynn did time at the dump, like that wouldn't be fun in January, but we could also put a word out that says, the community center committee will be at the library Saturday the 8th from 12 to 2.
We can do postcards, and we can have them, we put the postcards up when we did the first survey. We did the postcards at the counter here when people came to register their car, pay their taxes, whatever. And we also put them up at Hannaford on the
Service desk.
service desk. We put them in the high school, we put them at the library, we put them at events that happened, which we can have them in the gyms on Saturday morning for, basketball, both at Woodside and Mount Ararat.
And those
Just to
would
play
be
devil's
invitations.
advocate, isn't part of the result you want informed by the presentation? Because we've already surveyed now 2 different times and we've got all the focus groups. But if the purpose of this is more try to, I guess, prioritize which things and see how to fit the building design, can you do that without actually having
Right.
heard about the sites and the other information Mark would be laying out?
May not be that they have to come. You may wanna say it's available, the results or the input that is available for your viewing or whatever. Would that make sense? That way you're not
I mean,
making.
it almost seems like our goal probably shouldn't be, I don't think, to get all kinds of shotgun comments, maybe or may not informed by important facts. It's more get people to come that day.
Right.
So I think we're doing a lot of publicity as opposed to data collecting outside of that room.
I think that makes sense because if you go back to a lot of the answers on the survey, there was like, well, it depends on how much it's gonna cost and it depends on where's it gonna be and everything and we're beyond that stage, so that makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I was wondering too, just slightly off track. Are we at the point yet where we wanna create like a Facebook page? I know we don't have like a logo or anything, but now that the town has given us the go-ahead to proceed this next year.
I manage the Town of
The town,
Topsham Facebook page, I manage the Parks and Rec, and then I have an identity as the
Yeah,
director.
yeah.
I mean, we can use
So
all
we'll
of
just
them, we use them all the time for everything. as
So
it
just
is.
keep it at that point and you share
Yeah.
everything there.
Yeah,
Okay, I just wanted to,
I think,
Kinda throw it out there.
until you start fundraising and
Until we actually
and
get-
then
okay,
I've seen a lot of the different committees create Facebook pages for certain things and I don't,
and it
I
just
think, it gets lost
fizzles out,
sometimes.
yeah, okay.
So if we're shooting for the January 25th date tentatively, depending on school's availability, when, like, the
We have to have
crier,
it to the crier by the 20th of December.
so we'd have to have some sort of design and postcards ready to start handing out by the 20th of December.
Mark, what were the comment or the requirements for either capturing, are there any video like recode and things like that? What does the town need to do for?
They would like us to capture the video of this meeting, which we could do with the owl.
Alright.
So does that kind of cover next steps for the team or?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
In terms of the homework, let's get the word out, let's organize that and get the word out, absolutely.
Just to backtrack to the crier, that's probably before our next meeting,
Unless we have a reason to have another meeting for this month, I think it would be, so then I think it comes down to
You need a subcommittee that's willing to work on that part.
just the design of what we wanna say.
Any volunteers for subcommittee?
I have Canva, I can create and do all of that, it's more or less, I would like the committee to
Have
have,
the
you know,
verbiage
have
and,
the idea
Yeah.
behind it.
I think coming up with the purpose of the meeting is kind of goes back to what I was saying before. That is a collective thing
Mm-hmm.
to do.
I'm happy to help design.
Do you need another person, so I can talk it out with you guys?
okay.
That's great.
Maybe a work day, we can just come down here and powwow for a half hour, or depending on what your schedule is.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay, cool, thank you.
spend my lunch break.
I have a table you can eat in my office.
Thanks.
Okay, so Mark, do you have anything else under number 3? Or do you think we're,
I guess, no, that on that one, I think, that's good, for number 3. I think in terms of timeline, I'll put together sort of a sense of going from the charrette, moving forward and what approximate timeframe would be for the next several steps in the concept design, so that you all have some idea of how long it takes to develop the different pieces. I mean, it boils down to really 3 primary aspects. It's thinking about the building design itself, thinking about the site design, and the site design is informed by the building design. And then it's the cost estimate itself. And those are the 3 big pieces we have for homework after this.
Mark, after the Fairgrounds Committee has their election of new officers, do you have any ballpark timeframe that you may speak with them again, or what are your thoughts in that respect?
We'll follow up with them when we do after their elections.
Just some time out.
I don't know if I'll have an answer for us, but we'll do back to them and ask.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So that's.
Okay, so do we want to move on to number 4, community center visits and tracking?
I scored 0 on that.
Yeah, right.
Sorry,
We are
guys.
not batting 1,000. Do you
Maybe that can
would
be
you
what
like
we're
to-
trying to do in last December. Instead of meeting, we try to get visits.
Do you want me to pull it out? Both having computer issues. Just an FYI, if I don't respond, I can't send outgoing emails, so I'm not sure what's happening with that, but so Kim and I, our schedules have been not really compatible lately, but we met shortly before the meeting here, and we've got a pretty informative worksheet. You wanna take it from there? Sure. So we looked up a bunch of locations like the Bath YMCA, the Landing YMCA in Brunswick, Freeport, Wiscasset, Waterville Community Center, South Portland, and Kennewick Valley YMCA in Augusta. And just based on what we know personally and what is listed on the website, we tried to compile the amenities that each place have available, and the distance from this location, so that we can kind of get an idea of what is available to us and how far away it is. And so I don't know how much detail you want me to get into, but maybe just go over the main things that we have on our list. Yeah, so it looks like Bath YMCA has a community kitchen, competition pool, therapy pool, indoor track, a fitness center, and it's listed as a play space, which we put under multi-use function room. But they also have things like rock wall, racquetball, hot tub. And I also found on their website that they are adding on, they're in the process of adding on. And it said that a teen center and a commercial kitchen are.
Yeah, it's what we were talking about as far as a maker space type of kitchen.
And the Landing YMCA has a fitness center and a multi-use function room. They have list all of those. I mean, we can just say real quick, they do basketball, pickleball, a boxing studio. And I have not been there, but their website says they have 2 suspended wood floor group exercise rooms. Not entirely sure what that means, but.
I think they're the upper level. Kelly used to instruct there in my office, so
Oh,
you could
okay.
ask her, if you wanted to just call her and ask her to answer that. She's
So,
familiar with what they
That would
have.
make sense.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking that, you know, I could call each of these places and get more information on the things that we're not really clear on.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're known as a floating floor. It's a resilient floor that's almost like a wood gym floor, so they
As a
bounce
gym.
and give you
Yeah.
to it.
And Freeport has a competition pool and a therapy pool. They have meeting rooms, indoor track, fitness center, and a multi-use function room. They also offer racquetball, pickleball, basketball, badminton, and they have something listed on their website that they call the Air Museum, which in parentheses says outside gym. So again, what that means, we're not exactly sure.
We've got one of those at Forsyth.
As we say, it's right? The Wiscasset Community Center has a function room, and it lists on their website that it's a half kitchen. So whether that is commercial or.
It's not, it's, yeah.
Remember when I sent my list, there's a tiny one in the lobby, but then they have kind of a commercial one for the seniors.
Seniors.
Yeah, the
The
one in the
seniors kind of
lobby,
control
that's
that
just a
remodel
snack,
to
a
the
snack
left.
shack. Yeah. They also have a competition pool with 6 lanes, a recreation pool that has a 0 depth entry with water park features, yes. They have a fitness center, a multi-use function room, and they offer basketball, a snack bar, and they have a senior center.
Waterville Community Center has a lap pool, a therapy pool. They have outside, they have a splash pad, 2 water slides, a lap pool. They also have 3 gymnasiums, a boardroom, an indoor track, a fitness center, a party room, and they have something listed as general space. So whether that is meant for just any type of activity or something specific, we're not sure. They offer childcare concession stands outside and a covered pavilion. The South Portland Community Center has a community kitchen with a banquet room. They have a competition pool that is 25 meters. 2 full-size basketball courts in their gymnasium. Meeting rooms, a conference room, an art room. An indoor track, multi-use function room, a maker space, and they offer basketball and aerobics. We also put on here Bowdoin College, just because of the close proximity to our location, and they have a pool and an ice rink that our community currently can use. Kennebec Valley YMCA in Augusta has a competition pool, a zero depth entry recreation pool, a gymnasium, meeting rooms, indoor track, fitness center, multi-use function room, and they offer racquetball, cycling, a dance studio, a sauna, and a library or reading room.
And I just realized as we were going through all of these that we did not put St. John's Community Center on there. So I just thought of it, so we'll add that one as well.
I think that is like some really great information. And I think it'll be great once we're able to get the tours together to be able to add additional notes to that. I think my thought originally with this is that once we start to have ideas what we definitely want in there or definitely don't want, then we'll also be able to say, okay, maybe we didn't do this, but we can also say, here are 3 other community centers within X amount of distance that do have it.
Right.
So I think that's what this particular sheet is gonna give some benefit to.
And the amenity, the amenities that we have listed here are amenities that we took from the survey specifically because they are things that people said they wanted.
I heard you say sauna, and I know some of the facilities have hot tubs. Is that anything that's come up? Is that?
There, depending on the survey, I don't know that there was a strong.
No, I don't think there was.
Yeah.
No,
interest
in fact,
hot tubs.
we added that today because it wasn't in the original list from the survey.
Kathy, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I've had fun being a visual observer of some of the community centers just in the last year or so. And I know that my opinion is just a drop in the bucket to the entire residents of Topsham and certainly of this committee. But I've had fun sort of pinpointing some things that I think are problems. I know that it's expensive, and I know that activities generate income at community centers. And in order to have activities, you're gonna have visitors. So my goal is to go to visit all these different community centers and see just how visitor friendly they were. And some of them are not very visitor friendly. For pools, for instance.
Can you define what you mean by visitor friendly?
Yes,
Do you mean the
I will.
actual facility?
I will. When you go to the pools like Bowdoin or Bath Y, when you're watching an event, you're way upstairs and out of the way, and you can wear your street clothes and it's got great visibility. I don't know if we can afford that kind of thing, but it's perfect. If you go to a community center pool like Wiscasset, you walk into the pool area and you have to take your shoes off. So you're walking right next to the pool area and your socks are soaking wet by the time you get to the wooden bleachers, and there's no handrails, so it's very slippery to sit up and watch the event going on. We went to a Cape Elizabeth pool, which is state-of-the-art pool. Nothing prettier and more beautiful than that beautiful pool down there. And the bleachers are a little bit larger and they're farther away from the pool, so you don't get your socks soaking wet. But every single person is funneled into one long hallway where you have to take your shoes off, right by the bathrooms. And you're there for 3 to 5 hours and you have to go back through this hallway and kick shoes to go to the bathroom or to go outside to their concession building, because they did not have concessions. These are all things that I'm talking about for visitor friendly. Those are not visitor friendly amenities. Gyms, don't get me talking about gyms. The Williams County School here has no visibility for visitors. You can't even bring one extra chair in to watch your practice. Bodenham, they have 3 sides of the gym with one single chair lined up on 3 sides.
Like
And
Woodside.
And unfortunately, it might have been Woodside that I was thinking of. Unfortunately, when you walk in the door, all the parents in their snow boots walk across the basketball court to get to the single chairs. In Bowdoin, there's nice wooden bleachers, but guess what? When you go in the front door, it's on the opposite side of where the basketball court is. So you have to shimmy under the basketball court to get to the bleachers. Not visitor friendly. Saco, we went to Saco the other night, state-of-the-art Saco place. You walk in at court, there are 4 courts in there, basketball courts. You walk in at court 1, your kids are playing in 4. You shimmy under the basketball court of 1, 2, 3, and 4 to go up the stairs to watch the basketball game in 4. Not visitor friendly. We went to a second one in Saco the other night. Huge facility with football and yada, yada, yada. There was one tiny little 3-layered metal bleacher set for like 30 parents to watch the game. It was horrible. So my dream is, and I have full confidence in Harriman Associates.
They did none of those.
I have full confidence in you guys. I would love our community center to be the best visitor friendly. Think of an emergency if you all had to escape down that long narrow hallway with all the shoes scattered. If you had to pour 300 people out of there in an emergency, it would be awful.
It probably stinks too.
Oh my gosh.
So next to the bathroom.
Historically speaking,
Or
the
chlorine.
Saco stuff, when that was first built, it was soccer fields. The XL Center oh God, the same guy that built the bubble up here, Andy Howard. And that was in 2000, right around there. So it's evolved into basketball because soccer has kind of worn out its popularity in the off season. But it is interesting because now there are benches in there for people to sit on, and it is cramped and it's hard. Of course, if you want to go upstairs and drink and watch it, you can. That's very accessible. Those are the kind of things that drive me crazy.
Yeah. When my kids were little, they had bounce houses out on those soccer fields.
Yeah.
So the parents could sit upstairs and drink and watch, make sure the kids in the bounce houses didn't hurt themselves.
So my dream would be, if you could do a dream visitor center, it would be cushioned wooden benches. Plenty of space to walk by.
Well, yeah, there are lots of reactions, thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
I would only invite you to come back to the Cape Pool sometime in the middle of February when it's really sandy out on the whole schoolyard and the boots are in there and there's just sand everywhere. You go in the pool and the pool's got sand on the bottom.
It's like a
really?
beach.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Tom
The
lives in
lobby.
Cape Elizabeth, he knows.
That's right.
So I totally understand what Kathy's saying, and I don't think we'll have an issue with that. Just to play a little devil's advocate. I think you also kind of have to keep in mind that, for example, Williams Cone School, when you go to the gymnasium, that school's older than me. You know, so a lot of it is just they are defined by they cannot expand or only can make so much in modifications.
Yeah.
So while I totally understand what you're saying, we kind of have to keep that in mind too,
And it's
as
money.
to what we're
Yeah,
The
comparing.
more
to.
spacious,
Right,
the more
right,
cost.
right.
so I get that.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I built my house, when I lived in Bowden, I don't know about you, Mark, because you just recently built a house, but yes, this is my dream house and that this is the price. First thing to go is that little, room between the garage and the house itself.
We do have bed seats in our house, though.
Awesome. Okay, so getting back to actual visits, Pam, what are your thoughts?
Well, I have to admit, since we didn't go on the 5th, I really haven't, it's been a busy month with soccer ending and basketball starting and all that I have not paid that much attention to it. But I can send an email out to South Portland, and I don't know what folks think. As far as I know, there are no more breaks after this week until Christmas break.
Yeah.
So I don't know what folks are willing to do or want to.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So we've been talking about making sure we get these community center visits set up, and because we wanna have a good frame of reference to compare what we're doing, would it make sense to hold off on the community center visits until after we do the town assessment? Because then we'll have a better idea of potentially what the town actually is most important for them to see. And then we can say, okay, based on that, Wiscasset has a great, let's go see how they're doing that. Or instead of trying to fit it all in, just to write down as much stuff as we can write down, maybe we say, okay, now that we know exactly what we're looking at for, potentially.
Well, and I
know
I
operating.
value what you're saying there, and I kind of think Mark had set us up to talk to the CEO and the CFO of the Alpha Center up in Waterville. And I think that would be important for the next step, definitely after we put what we want together. Because we need to have a foundation of, okay, how are we paying for this? How is it functioning? Is it the towns, or is it gonna be rented, or another relationship? So in some ways, it makes total sense, but.
I feel like we're just trying to find a way to fit the community. And while we do wanna know the operating budget and that kind of stuff, I think having more context to our questions, which will come from some of this, might get us more specific answers.
And I feel like my 2 visits went to waste because I typed up all that stuff and you guys found it on the internet, so.
Well, I mean.
What was the purpose of my going down there and doing all
No,
that?
because you do have to have eyes on things.
Now, wait a
because-
minute, you watched your granddaughter, didn't, and for a couple of them, no?
Well, all of those
yeah,
that I
was
just
it.
talked about,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but I
But-
specifically went to the back one, and
Yeah,
didn't you all get my list of,
Yes.
okay.
And we did
pull
we
from it.
pulled your information
Oh,
up
okay.
tonight too to.
So that was the idea, was take the information you had sent in, and then they started that, compile that on the
Okay,
list.
good, well, good, glad it wasn't wasted.
You, that might have been missed, cause I think you were on Zoom last time in the meeting.
Right.
So.
The other thing that we could potentially look at too is instead of trying to have a group of most of us going, maybe we just designate like 3 people. We've got phones, we can take pictures or videos, to show everyone. It might help us, have a more targeted approach to actually visiting these places.
I'm thinking based on the timeline that Mark was discussing, we try to do this in January. Then they're compiling their stuff and running their numbers and doing their thing. Because my understanding is that we're taking what we find from doing these activities, what we find from visiting the community centers and understanding their budget, and kind of handing it back to the select board and saying, okay, what do you guys wanna do next with it? So maybe we have some time in February or March to start rescheduling those visits while they're compiling and doing what they're doing.
I think part of the idea of seeing the tours too is that you might see arrangement ideas, and that like was discussed tonight, that there may be some things that are spectator friendly and others that aren't. And so thinking like that as we're starting to lay it out. So I think that would be an important step between the forum and finalizing the design, concept designs, if you will.
Okay.
So you'll again, there'll be some similarities in how the buildings are organized, but there'll be other differences too that you'll want to say, that really worked, we like that, no, that really didn't seem to work well. So having that as an informative part of the design is gonna be really helpful. As much as having kind of that financial
Financial.
aspect,
Yeah.
but that we can do as a follow-up too.
I would think we make those a goal for February and March, February and March.
I think so, and I think the idea that you probably put dates out and see who can attend, and guarantee you're not gonna find a date that works for everyone, but,
Also, if we start planning them
Mhm.
now. Maybe.
Who goes away during February vacation?
It's a good time.
It's hockey. I'm here, I'm here. We may be, but it's not set in stone yet.
I'm doing a cruise yet.
Not after last year's.
I have sort of a random thing, I don't know where we are in the agenda, but
I think that
Next steps.
we are just going to next action steps, so if you wanna
so
hop in.
my husband goes to the Bath Y at mostly the landing. And he ran into the executive director over there, Catherine, and he thinks maybe it's DeWick, in that name. She is interested in talking with us, and I'm just not sure at what point that type of conversation might impact our meetings that we're having. So if by chance the Bath Y is interested, and I don't wanna, I kinda wanna say this off record, but it's, she said, let's talk, would a relationship of sorts with a private entity or a nonprofit entity, whatever they are, impact what we would be presenting for as a building option to the community? So I just don't know, cart
I
before
think
horse.
part of the charge was to also start to investigate potential partnerships and funding opportunities. So I think it is worth talking to them, get some ideas, because, a lot of the other questions we've had is, what about the operation of this? If she says, oh, we might be willing to do some of the I think it's worth engaging that discussion.
Yeah, and I don't think that it impacts the pool. I mean, it might impact whether we have a pool. We may be more likely to get a pool if we have a relationship like that, but I don't know that it impacts the rest of the building necessarily. So I just wanted to bring it up that conversation was had. I don't think it impacts our January action, but I want to make sure it doesn't impact our January action.
does not, I don't think, in any way, and
So they can be side by side as we're
Absolutely.
moving forward. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So next action steps,
Would you all like me to just reach out to this person since it's through my husband and just make the connection to say, to at least get contact information and see what questions might be?
That's it.
Okay,
I mean, to the extent we can find sources of money and or people to share operating expenses,
right,
it makes this an easier decision to go ahead with when the time comes.
okay.
and that's Bath, she's Bath Y,
Bath Landing.
Bath Landing.
They're the
They're
same.
both,
That's the
they're-
Y.
yeah,
Yeah.
The land.
they're together. She's, I think she's, I wanna tell you, again, we need to talk to Kelly, cause she knows that.
If you get a membership.
I wanna tell you, she,
Okay.
I think she's the executive director, but I'm not surprised.
That's what Jim said to me.
Yeah.
Very smart, very approachable.
And then we have our homework for the charrettes, so that would be,
I think right now what we have is myself, Pam and Heather to get together to start to draft what the postcards invitation would look like.
Yeah.
I have.
The publicity.
Publicity, that's a great word, thank you. We have you that are gonna follow up with Bath Y / Brunswick Landing person to see if there's a potential for just a meeting to find out what we could possibly do.
Do you think it would be beneficial for me to call around to some of these places that we have on our chart and get more information about their amenities? Or do you think that what we've got is enough until we do the visits? How do you feel?
I mean, we could clarify on a couple of them, like if they actually have kitchens or not, that sort of thing. I don't think that, we won't be spending hours at this point, but if we have time to make some phone calls, sure.
That's quick and easy.
Okay, any other action steps? Are we good?
Pam and I will follow up with the fair in a couple weeks.
And then Pam's gonna, check with the school.
Try to
The
confirm more
25th
dates, I'll send an
and
email
26th.
out tomorrow and.
Yeah. Okay, bless you. Thank you. Okay, are you good?
Prior December 20th.
That's gonna be
That's
this,
all publication.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, so review the minutes from the October 28th meeting. Anything there?
I had one question since I missed the beginning of the meeting. What was the acreage at the Forsyth Road site? So I can compare it in my mind to the 22 acres at the fair.
Yeah, the town of
That entire north side of the road is what, 33 acres, Pam? So it
Yeah.
includes what's put down below and what's up top.
I had
So
one,
how much is up top without, without the soccer field
I
for just a building?
don't know if we know that exact number.
Yeah, I don't know if we have.
It's probably, I think, 15 or 16 maybe.
I was quite taken back when Mark showed us the sketch plans that it fit there, like,
Yeah, so I,
weren't you?
yeah,
I mean, I was just kind of overwhelmed with, it fit nicely in there.
so this, it fits with
In the
some
woods.
existing soccer field. And
Has to.
the existing parking
The line
and
that
an
would be
additional
added to.
parking.
in addition,
Mark, do you have that?
they'd
to
be
pull
coming
up?
up from.
I do
Forsyth.
have, yeah, I have those sketches.
I get
That's helpful.
I get a read from them.
Exactly.
We'll have Mark pull it up real quick, so you can take a look. In the meantime,
I had a question about the Forsyth
Ah.
site as well. What would the angle of the driveway be going up to it? I sort of have put together in my mind that this could be an evacuation center, and what if we have to get there in a storm and like all this, so I just sort of had that thought, like going from Forsyth up, what would the
I
angle
think
be?
it's two ideas. One is it would start where the parking lot is at the east
Yeah.
end of the facility, kind of follow the logging road up.
Yeah,
So it goes between the lacrosse field and
how
top of
steep
it.
is that?
That one's relatively gradual. The other way, like the sewer would probably water, or at least the water they talked about would come up directly across from the Legion. So you could perhaps do the road there.
That
and
would
make
be
it work.
much steeper.
Correct, be a little steeper.
I've hiked back up in there, it felt hilly to me, I don't know, that's just my only concern since the last meeting.
It wouldn't want to exceed 8% slope, for example, which means that it's
Oh, that's
definitely gonna
correct.
have to go diagonally up the
Yes.
contours.
Yeah, not as shown, it shows it almost straight up, but it would actually have to angle.
Yeah, it would have to come further down into the parking lot
Yeah,
where
so
the graves used to really go up.
it would likely do something like that.
But
and
8% is not just.
No, right, it's reasonable,
That's-
anything we would do has to be able to have access for emergency vehicles to get to,
right.
yeah,
In weather.
exactly.
Okay,
And
thank you.
And we talked that the Thomas Avenue access, we would not put the regular routine people through there, but the emergency vehicles and anything like that would still be able to gain access that way should they need to.
Right there.
does that answer questions for everybody on
Do you
that?
see Kathy, can you tell what they're showing you?
I saw the map, I just couldn't picture the acreage available compared to the 22 acres at the fair. It didn't tell me if it was 3 or 5 or 10 or.
Yeah,
It
they're
says
put to
20,000 square
Yeah.
feet, but I can't.
Mark,
can't
they were put
visualize
to
that.
scale, am I
The
correct?
total is 37 acres, right, I think, but you're right, what is that upper area that we're looking at? We have to do a little takeoff, so I'll do that.
No, you can do that the next meeting, it's not crucial.
So do we have any motions to accept the minutes from the October 28th meeting? Second,
Second.
motions accepted. Minutes accepted. Okay, are we gonna have, next meeting in December, or what are we thinking? It's the holidays and I know everyone's schedules are looking like.
We could do one just 2 weeks prior to the January 25th meeting or something like that. If there's some committee is meeting between now and then.
I think we'd want one just to get to go over all the logistics and organization for the forum, it could be again, at any time leading up to that in January, but if there's. So I don't know that we need to, there's nothing that we need on our end in December, but.
Okay, so do we wanna shoot for some time in January then, beginning of January,
I would propose the 13th.
13th?
Is that on Monday?
That's a Monday.
That is open on the town calendar.
Does that
Do
work
we
for
know for
everyone
Steve?
else?
I have to be honest, in January, we don't know for I know
Yeah.
the 25th could work for him because there's no game on the schedule that day. But I don't know as far as
They probably have they must practice every day.
or play.
Practice every day.
Didn't we switch it to later last year for him, or did we make it earlier?
He's coaching the freshman team now, so he's gonna be going into tonight he had a scrimmage, so he was just. I think anything like 6:30-ish might work, but I'm not, or before 6:30,
There is no game on the 13th.
but. So,
So shoot for did we decide this is 13th work for everybody?
Okay. Do we wanna stay with 5:15 or do we wanna go a little later?
I think the earlier is better for him, because varsity practice is first and then JV and freshmen are after for the boys. So
Okay.
probably the 5:15 is fine.
So January 13th at 5:15, next meeting. Anything else? We good?
That's it.
So, meeting adjourned? Motion to adjourn? Adjourn. Second? Meeting adjourned at 6:28.